Since March, an estimated 2,800 plus city businesses have been forced to close permanently. According to business listing and review site Yelp, that's more than any other large American city. And while New York marches on in the road to recovery, the devastating impact of COVID-19 continues to be felt by thousands of businesses and their employees. Our Karina Mitchell reports in Money on One on how the Flatiron is getting behind restaurants in the district and the challenges they face.
The state's restaurant and hospitality industry has been particularly ravaged by COVID-19. Before the pandemic, the Federal Reserve finds some 315,000 people were employed in the city's hospitality, food services, and beverage industry. That number cratered to about 90,000 at the depths of the pandemic before reviving slightly. Andrew Ridgey, executive director of the NYC Hospitality Alliance, warns there are still about 200,000 unemployed industry workers. He warns the consequences of that are dire.
I would say to Governor Cuomo and Mayor de Blasio, these small business owners, they need a plan. They need to know, do they stop exhausting their personal savings, throw their keys back to their landlord?
Traditional restaurant owners in the Flatiron, like Ken Holberg, agree, knowing full well they can't compete with the big names.
You don't get higher-end American food delivered. And there's so much competition in the quick service market here in New York City now that you just can't compete against those big corporations, the Shake Shacks, the Chops, all those sort of places. You're not going to compete on a dollar-for-dollar basis.
Of the roughly 27,000 restaurants and bars in the city, only about 10,000 are currently certified for outdoor dining. According to the Alliance, more than 80% of them weren't able to pay full rent in July. To help revive eateries in the neighborhood, the Flatiron 23rd Street Partnership launched the All in Flatiron campaign, featuring in-person and online discounts for nearly 36 restaurants in Flatiron and Nomad. The initiative helps a fraction of the more than 230 restaurants in the area. The partnership's executive director says every single one of them is desperately trying to stay afloat.
It's really that break. What I'm hearing is like, how can we tread water? Break-even point is like really the goal, so that at the very least they have a fighting chance to stick around.
Holberg has been with Harding since 2012 and says the program is a much-needed lifeline for now, but desperately hopes there's something to celebrate down the road.
Smaller restaurants, unfortunately, like myself, it's their livelihood. It's how I feed my family. It's how my staff feeds their family, and it's a much more personal relationship. We all know each other's kids, and so it makes it even tougher. And you sort of wait to the very last minute when all hope is gone. So we're there to the very end. The cliff is there. We're riding on that cliff all the way to the end.
And our Karina Mitchell joins us now. Oh, Karina, it's dire. And now adding insult to injury to our city restaurants, New Jersey is announcing they're opening indoor dining by Friday. That's going to really create more economic woes for us here in the city as people are crossing the river to do their dining.
Yeah, exactly, Roma. As you say, they're set to open on Friday at 25% indoor capacity. And look at the rest of New York State. We've been open for weeks in other areas, so it's really only the city that's been on hold. And the mayor hinting that not until there's an effective vaccine will we start to see indoor dining return to the city. So we're looking out months and months, possibly into next summer. They're in a dire position, as you say. They need restaurants to open now.
And can they last till next summer? Because it looks like that may be the case.
Yeah, exactly. The situation is so bad. Anecdotally, the restaurant owners that I spoke to, they're worried about whether they can last week to week. They're looking, they can't even look to the end of the year to see if they're going to remain open. They want rent relief now. They need it immediately. And they also need a plan to have some sort of indoor dining return to the city, because otherwise they're not going to be able to keep those doors open, Roma. I don't want you to think that it's just a city problem. The industry as a whole in the U.S. was projected to have sales of nearly $900 billion this year. Now they're looking at a loss of $240 billion by the end of this year. 1 in 3 restaurants in the country isn't prepared to open their doors ever again, Roma. So it really is a big problem, but it's exacerbated by the city not being able to have any indoor dining at all.
Wow, it's a national catastrophe. Thank you very much, Karina Mitchell.
You bet.
We have an exciting new way to keep you informed throughout the day. Keep up with your New York City news, weather, and more wherever you are with our